In this video, I'm not going to teach you an anxiety hack or trick. I'm going to teach you the #1 most powerful way to decrease anxiety as backed by research. I'm going to teach you the 6 steps to kicking fear's butt by using exposure therapy. Now, if you want to learn to beat anxiety, one of the most powerful things you can do is develop the skill of facing your fears. And this is a skill that you can learn. If just face your fears seems both too simple and too difficult at the same time and you're about ready to turn this off, stay with me for just a second because I'm going to break this skill down into bite-sized chunks that you can work through little by little. It's normal to want to avoid things that make you anxious, but avoidance locks your brain into a cycle of increasing anxiety, and avoidance prevents you from learning that the things you fear aren't as dangerous as you think. The gradual process of facing fears is called exposure. It's a safe and effective therapy that's been shown to naturally decrease anxiety. Through exposure, you basically rewire your brain to help it know when you're actually safe. Exposure therapy is a research-backed effective treatment for phobias, which are fears of situations, PTSD, which is fears of memories and body sensations, panic attacks, which are essentially fears of body sensations, and OCD, which is, various fears of thoughts, contamination, or causing harm to others, etc. Now, you may have tried exposure in the past and it didn't work, and that might be for a couple of reasons. You may have tried to jump into something too scary too soon, and that might have put you into the panic zone and actually been re-traumatizing for you, which just reinforces the fear. Or maybe you faced your fears once or twice, but when it still bothered you, you didn't continue. So when exposure is done correctly, it can be very effective at overcoming fears and anxiety. Facing your fears is most effective when you start with the things that are less scary, and then you gradually work your way up. And then as you work the process, you build up belief in your ability to do hard things, and you might even learn that you enjoy the things you once feared. How to do it? Step 1, choose a fear to work on. Step 2, make a personal goal. So for example, visit my grandchildren who have a dog in their home. And it's important to remember why you care about this, like why doing something hard is better than doing something comfortable. And it's because something is more important to you, whether it's your job or your loved ones or your sense of self. You care about something more than you care about your anxiety and avoiding your anxiety. So your motivation here is essential to progress. Make it super clear, make a vision board, or write your goal down in a place you can see every day. You can tell other people about your goals so that they can support you. And you could even visualize, if you overcame this fear, how will your life improve? And just to be clear, our goal here in the long run, that emotion, like when I say overcome this fear, that emotion, the anxiety or fear around an object is most likely going to go down. There's a very, very good chance that it'll go down. But it's even more important when we talk about overcoming fears that actually your ability to experience fear goes up. Your ability to be in a situation that's scary goes up because that's actually way more adaptive skill. Okay, sorry for that side tangent thing. Okay, step 3. We're going to build a ladder for your fear. Now, psychologists like big words to make them feel special, so they call this an exposure hierarchy. So you make a list of all of the aspects of this fear. It might be something like seeing a dog, petting a dog, being in a house with a dog, being in a park with a dog, and you rate each situation on a scale from 0 to 10, with 10 being the most frightening. Now, the hard part of this is figuring out the tiny steps that are at like level 1, 2, 3, or 4. This is the part that most people get wrong. They just try to jump into the deep end of their fears and they get freaked out and re-traumatized, and then they escape and their brain reinforces that anxiety. It actually increases the anxiety response. So if you want to successfully overcome fear, then you need to get really creative at making these tiny steps. So write down as many tiny steps as you can think of that'll help you reach that goal. Let me give you some examples. If you're afraid of dogs, that could be watching movies about dogs, looking at pictures of dogs, or looking at a dog through a window. If you're afraid of getting a vaccine, you could watch a video of a needle. You could watch an apple being injected. You could touch a needle. If you have social anxiety, record yourself talking through an imaginary social situation and then listen to that recording. You could practice very small steps like saying hi to a coworker and then move up to bigger things like ask a coworker how their weekend was. Again, one of the most important things you can do is break these tasks down into tiny steps whenever possible. This could include watching other people doing it, watching examples of it, pretending to play with characters facing their fears, and imaginal exposure, where you imagine yourself facing your fear. In addition to breaking tasks down, you can also add in support. So in the beginning stages, facing our fears can be a lot easier with a friend or family member or therapist to support us. And then with time, we can do these things with more independence. It's important that we don't get too dependent on these forms of support. Some of the things we do to try and make ourselves feel safe while we face our fears actually prevent our brain from learning that we can do it. So if, for example, you have social anxiety and you're like, oh, I can go to a party as long as I get drunk first, that's a safety behavior. And it basically tells your brain, no, I still can't handle that party because I have to go with beer. That's the only way I can do it. So you can use like a supportive friend or family member in the beginning stages, but it's really important you do it by yourself later on, or remove those safety behaviors if you want to eliminate the anxiety. Okay. Also, as you make your ladder, it's important that you have a mix of tasks that are like mildly anxiety-provoking, somewhat anxiety-provoking, and some steps that feel really out of reach, really anxiety-provoking. Okay, number 4, exposure. Starting with the bottom rung on your ladder, begin to repeatedly engage in that activity. So for example, if you're afraid of dogs, walk by the dog park every day. The repetition is really important. So as soon as you're able, you want to lengthen out the time that you're there or loop the activity. Just do it over and over and over again. So you might look at the dog park for 30 minutes, or you might walk by a dog park 3 times in a row. It's really important for you to stay with the situation long enough for your anxiety to lessen. Or at the very least, you set a goal based around a number, like how long you're going to be there or how many times you're going to do something. Never set a goal that's like, oh, I'll stay there until I get too anxious, because that's basically just an invitation for your brain to increase your anxiety so that you can escape, and that's going to make your anxiety worse in the long run. Okay, as you're doing the exposure, practice willingness during the exposure. It's normal to feel anxious or afraid during exposure. And this is where your unwritten rules might try to take over. So people with anxiety disorders often have the rule like, if it makes me feel anxious, it must be bad, it must be dangerous, or I can't handle it. These are rules that you made up. You believe them, but they just aren't true. Anxiety is not bad. It's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant, but it serves a function. You have to challenge these thoughts that say anxiety is dangerous. Anxiety is not bad or harmful. It's just hard, but you can do hard things. The really cool thing is that when you feel nervous, that emotional energy primes your brain to learn. As you face your fears and survive, your anxiety will go down and your confidence will go up. Thanks to neuroplasticity, our brain adapts to situations and relabels them as being actually safe, and this will decrease our fear or anxiety over time. Okay, step 5 is repeat. Face your fears over and over, daily if possible, and have longer exposures, like 60 to 90 minutes, multiple times a week. It can also help you to track your fear levels, because you'll see that these numbers are going to begin to drop. Like something that used to be an 8 is now like a 4 or a 3. And as your numbers begin to drop, you can gradually move up to kind of the next scary item on your ladder. Continue to face your fears regularly. Even if your fear around the thing has dropped, try to set something up so that you keep exposing yourself to it. So for example, if you're scared of needles, then change the picture on your phone home screen to a picture of a syringe. Just like staying physically fit, consistently facing your fears is mental fitness. Just like building muscles, you build confidence in your ability to do hard things. Okay, the last step is, I would say, reinforce courage. Give yourself some credit. You are doing something hard for you. Do not compare yourself to others or put yourself down. So each time you face a fear, you could say out loud or write down like, I did something hard today. I can do hard things, or I'm proud of myself, and allow yourself to feel a sense of accomplishment. When you do, your brain basically releases more dopamine, which is the reward chemical, but it's also the motivation chemical. So this is going to help you feel more motivated the next time to do it again. Also, after an exposure, notice, like, was it as dangerous as you thought it was? Or did you learn anything new about this experience? And I would just say make sure to keep track of your progress so that you can look back and see how far you've come. When you intentionally allow yourself to feel the fear and do it anyway, you're going to learn that anxiety doesn't control you. You're going to build up your self-efficacy, which is your belief in your ability to do hard things, and you're going to be able to live the life that you value. I love this stuff. Okay, if you want more of this, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to take the entire course on how to overcome anxiety, it's called Break the Anxiety Cycle in 30 Days. You can check out the link in the description. Thanks for being here. Take care.